Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful day. The Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms. Go ahead, subscribe there. Also, you can find me on the Revolutionary Blackout Network. So you can find me there on Sundays at 1 p.m. for the JB show and Thursdays for the Savvy and JB show. So good to see you. Thank you very much. What we're talking about today is we're going to be discussing about the ballot initiative series that we have going on right now. The ballot initiatives that we're talking about today is going to be a ballot initiative amendment 5. So we're going to be discussing that. So it's so good to see all of you here. But if you have not already, you guys can go ahead and give a like to the stream. Appreciate it very much. It actually helps me out very much. So thank you in advance for that. Also, if you have not, you can also subscribe to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com. This gives you email notifications whenever I go live, upload clips, or write any articles. So thank you very much for that. Hello and shouts out to everybody that's watching. And it's so good to see you today. So one of the things we're going to talk about is Amendment 5. So, of course, many of you know I've been going over the ballot initiatives that we will be covering, that we will be voting on this November. So this is going to be a very important one having to deal with homeowners. And so I would like to get this for you so you guys can have the information ready to go so you guys know what is what when it comes to these amendments. So we're going to get started right now. So we're going to be looking at Amendment 5. So Florida Amendment 5, Annual Inflation Adjustment for Homestead Property Tax Exemption Value Amendment. So this is the language. So when you go to your ballot, this is what it's going to say. Florida Amendment 5, the Annual Inflation Adjustment for Homestead Property Tax Exemption Value Amendment is on the ballot in Florida as a legislatively referred constitutional amendment on November 5th, 2024. A yes vote supports an annual inflation adjustment to the amount of assessed value that is exempt from property taxation. A no vote opposes an annual inflation adjustment to the amount of assessed value that is exempt from property taxation. So it says, what would Amendment 5 do? It says, as of 2024, in Florida, property tax millage rates were set by counties, school districts, cities, and special districts. Homes in Florida are assessed at just value, market value, minus the homestead exemption. The homestead exemption reduces the taxable value of a property. Every primary residence is eligible for a $25,000 homestead exemption, which exempts that amount from all taxes. Another $25,000 homestead exemption is applied on a homestead's value between $50,000 and $75,000, which exempts that amount from all taxes except school districts. The amendment would provide for an annual inflation adjustment for the value of the homestead property tax exemption that applies to non-school taxes. The adjustment will be made every year on January 1st based on the percentage change in the Consumer Price Index reported by the U.S. Department of Labor if the change is positive. Now, it talks about how, it has to be put on the ballot. Now you have to make, of course, all these ballot initiatives. You have to, in order for it to pass, it has to have 60% vote from the people, from the voters. And so it has to be a supermajority, basically, for it to happen. So this is how how it got on the ballot. It says the amendment was approved by the Florida House of Representatives on February 2024, with 86 representatives voting in favor of and 29 representatives voting against. Among House Democrats, 5 were in favor and 29 were opposed. Among House Republicans, 81 were in favor and none were opposed. The amendment was approved in the Florida State Senate on March 6th of 2024 by a vote of 25 to 15. Of Senate Republicans, 25 were in favor and 3 were opposed. All 12 Senate Democrats voted against the amendment. Now, it talks about how other how has Florida voted on other property tax amendments. It talks about what happened in 2022. It says Amendment 5 was approved of a vote from 74.49% to 25.51%. The amendment extended the periods which a person may transfer Save Our Homes benefits to a new homestead property from 2 years to 3 years. In 2022, the Florida state legislature referred a constitutional amendment on the ballot that would have approved an additional homestead property tax exemption on $50,000 of assessed value property owned by a certain public service workers, including teachers, law enforcement officers, emergency medical personnel, active duty members of the military, and Florida National Guard and Child Welfare Service employees. The amendment received 58.68% of the vote, but failed due to the state's 60% majority requirement to adopt constitutional amendments. So this actually goes over the language of it. Here are the supporters. Of course, you guys can see it's all Republicans. And funny part is there's no actual arguments that have been recorded that we know of. And as far as the opposition is Florida League of Cities, same thing. No actual arguments given as to whether this is going to be beneficial or a disadvantage. So this is something that everybody's going to have to, gauge for themselves. Now, with that being said, one of the things that I appreciate is independent media. And in independent media, I have a friend, Katie Lewis, who is part of the Orlando chapter of RBN. And so, of course, he has his Chronicles for Black Political Power, that he has a Substack on his, he has Substack articles that he writes. So one of the things I wanted to do is I will actually want to go into his article because he actually talks about this homestead exemption, and we'll get the more of a clearer picture of this as well. So in his article up here says initiatives at the ballot box for Florida 2024. Katie Lewis goes over the initiatives one by one. There's 6 initiatives, and he goes over initiative amendment number 5. So annual inflation adjustment for homestead property tax exemption value amendment. So this says, in the language added to Articles 7 and 12 of the Florida Constitution, it says the $25,000 amount of assessed valuation exempt from taxation provided in subparagraph A1B shall be adjusted annually on January 1st of each year following for inflation using the percentage change in the consumer price index for all urban consumers, U.S. city average, all items 1967 equal to 100, or successor reports for the preceding calendar year as initially reported by the United States Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, if such percentage change is positive. So this basically goes over the language of the law, right? Now, here's his commentary. So he says the passing of this amendment would benefit property owners who have a homestead exemption for their property. Currently, the property of Floridian homeowners are tax exempt for up to $50,000 of their assessed home value. For example, for a home value at $250,000, $200,000 would be taxed, which greatly lowers the amount of property taxes homeowners would pay. If the amendment were to pass, the second $25,000 of that $50,000 exemption would adjust with inflation, which would act as another way of reducing the tax burden on homeowners. So this sounds really good because this benefits homeowners, and helping them to be more tax exempt. Is this a good thing? Well, it depends on the way you look at it. So he continues. So the amendment, however, can lead to an even greater tax burden to other entities that do not qualify as homesteads due to the massive loss of tax revenue. A state analysis mentioned in the Miami Herald saw that local governments barring school districts could lose at least $111 million on an annual basis by 2028 if this amendment passes. That burden will be placed on the shoulders of businesses and renters, which can also lead to less available cash at the disposal of Floridian consumers. So, just pausing right there. So, if businesses are going to have to pay more taxes because it's no longer being paid by the homeowner, then guess who's going to get stiffed? It's going to be the workers. Because if you're not going to get taxed at the home front, at the homestead, then you're going to get taxed at the businesses, meaning not necessarily the consumers. A lot of times work also, their prices are going to go up because the tax is going to go higher. And then on top of that, the taxes that we're going to have to pay as renters too. And they may end up increasing, the taxes on different, things that we need here within the state, within our respective counties and cities. So you got to weigh the pros and cons. So it says Amendment 5, much like Amendment 2, is fairly unnecessary one that could have more adverse impacts than beneficial results. Property taxes are the bulk of tax revenue generated in Florida, and cutting those taxes even more than they've already been cut is more likely to shift the tax burden on many other Floridians as opposed to alleviating the pockets of home-owning Floridians. So, just so you guys know, Florida does not have a state income tax. So, when it comes to our taxes, the money that we get through property taxes is extremely important. And so if you were to cut those taxes even further, because you don't have a state income tax, that is less revenue for cities as well as the state. And the thing is like, do we want an alleviation for people who own homes? Yes. But should that alleviation end up harming other people who may not own homes within the state and harming other programs that we may need in order to have the goods and services, the public goods and services that we need in the state? See what I mean? This is why I'm more in favor of a tax on, the richest Floridians, a higher tax. I think, like I said before, I think we should have a state income tax that starts at the richest Floridians. Meaning, if you're a Floridian making above $200,000, $250,000 a year, that's when the state income tax starts. That's when you start getting charged state income tax. So anybody above that gets taxed. Anybody below that, you don't have state income tax at all. That's how I feel. Because the thing is like, do I want homeowners to save more money? Yes, I do. But not at the expense of the public goods and services that we need. And to be honest with you, we need even more. Now, another thing I want to add is I also do think that we should have a municipal and state public banks. I talked about this with Alpha Maturity and Nelson Betancourt. And of course, if you guys watch the channel all the time, people like Roger Meadows talk about a public bank and how it will increase the it would increase the likelihood of us being able to do more infrastructure projects because that money is grown in the market, and our taxes are put into the bank, grown in the market, and then that money that has grown. So let's say we put $1 million of tax revenue in, and we come out with $10 million, out of profit from that. Then we can take that $10 million and then reinvest it into the businesses in order to increase our infrastructure within the state. When you increase that infrastructure, that's more jobs, that's more revenue for different businesses that indirectly benefit from it as well. So this is why I think Florida is a prime state for us to have a public bank, whether it be municipally, whether it be like the city of Orlando or Orange County, or a state public bank, a Florida public bank. I think that would be a great thing for us. And this also could help alleviate taxes without us having to shift the burden onto other people. You know what I mean? So, and then on top of that, it's like, well, we can actually now afford it. So that's something I think that would be beneficial. So I just want to thank Katie Lewis for that article. I will also put the article link in the description down below so you guys have access to that, especially if you're in Florida. So thank you so very much for that. Now, just want to give a huge shout out to all of the patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, I would not be able to do this type of work. You guys make this possible. Just a big thank you. And I love you guys for helping me keep the lights on. Here are the tiers. You guys have Mega Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Jaybefaunters, Comrade, Solidarity, and JB members. And a huge thank you to all future JB members. It is deeply appreciated from the top and bottom of my heart. So thank you very much for that. By the way, if you guys have not, you guys can go ahead and take a look at my interview with the Green Party. I interviewed Dr. Joe Stein and Ajmal Baraka when I was in Tampa, Florida. In fact, I just came back from Tampa. And if you guys would like to, you guys can go ahead and take a look at that. Thank you very much for that. I wanted to get to talk to Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Penny Hess and Jesse Neville. Unfortunately, they were already in court, so I wasn't able to come out and see them. And plus, my bus had to leave before court proceedings ended, so I wasn't able to actually get to have a conversation with them. But I will be trying to go back to Tampa within the next month or so, or the next few weeks, so that I can be able to intercept and just have a conversation with them or their representatives, so that we can get word from them, because we're speaking really about our First Amendment rights and right to assembly and right to organize. So that is very important. So thank you very much for that. Now, with that being said, I just wanted to say thank you so much to everybody who has helped me out to get there. I will be trying to do the reading of Presidential by Margaret Kimberly sometime this week. So yes, I'll be there. Also look for me to be on Ron Placone's show this Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That is going to be a really good show. I cannot wait to be on there. So that's going to be fun. And thank you very much to everybody for tuning in. With that being said, I'm going to head on out. And thank you so much for tuning in. Water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then watch something funny, because joy is revolutionary. And vote for those ballot initiatives, because those are very important. Oh, by the way, while I'm at it, how would I vote on this tax exemption? I personally would vote no. Because honestly, I don't want to shift the tax burden onto other people. Even though I do want homeowners to save money, the problem is that those of us who are renting, we're broke. So, unfortunately, we need a better way to take the tax burden off of homeowners. And, I think a public bank will actually be the best course of action. So thank you very much, everybody. Mwah. Forehead kisses. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you so very much for watching my channel. And I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.